May 31st, 1970, 3:23 p.m. It was a normal day. The sun was shining brightly on the peaks of Cordillera Blanca. Suddenly, Ancash, Peru was hit with a short yet violent earthquake with a magnitude of 7.9 on the Richter scale. Houses, walls, and Ancash's capital city, Huaraz, crumbled as it buried the citizens alive in one of the largest earthquakes known in history.
But that wasn't the end. At 3:24 p.m., a tall glacier was destabilized, creating a landslide that came crashing down at 193 kilometers per hour and buried the towns of Yungay and Ranrahirka. As it reached the valley, the wave had collected over 80 million cubic meters of ice, mud, and rock. Even though the initial earthquake only lasted 45 seconds, it took a devastating toll of 70,000 lives.
The earthquake occurred on a reverse fault line where the South American plate and the Nazca plate compressed against each other, and the South American plate was pulled underneath, creating a subduction zone. The epicenter lay 25 kilometers west of Chimbole.
The earthquake occurred in Peru, South America at 9.2 degrees south and 78.8 degrees west. As said before, the earthquake caused the capital city of Ancash and the northern wall of Mount Huascaran to crumble and destroy structures over 83 kilometers. Another factor in the destruction of the town was that many buildings were built poorly on loose soil due to it being cheaper to a very poor community.
My name is John Clegg, and I am a professor in the Department of Earth Sciences at Simon Fraser University. I'm a geologist by training. When I was very young, I think I was just maybe 10 years old or so, there was a pretty strong earthquake, and it really scared me, first of all. And then I thought I'd like to learn more about earthquakes. So I think that was kind of a factor in getting me going. Well, at that time, let's see, 1970, I was still in university. I was at UBC doing my PhD. And so I didn't really have the ability to get directly involved in that study. But I do remember it was a really devastating earthquake. And, I kind of try and imagine what it was like for people living there at the time. Because a lot of most cities and towns in Peru don't have buildings built to withstand very strong ground shaking, and that shaking in that earthquake was extreme. There was a lot of structural damage, buildings collapsing, and it would be just absolutely terrifying for people to experience that.
About a minute later, after the earthquake, a glacier on Mount Huascaran broke and came crashing down at 193 kilometers per hour. As it cascaded down, the avalanche picked up glacier deposits and started spitting out mud and rock. By the time it reached the towns of Yungay and Ranrahirka, it was a wave about 3,000 feet wide. It swallowed the towns whole, along with all of the citizens in them. Even though the earthquake could be felt from Chiclayo south to Lima, a staggering distance of 400 miles, most of the damage occurred near the epicenter in Santa River Valley.
So in the Ancash earthquake, there were these huge landslides, areas in the Andes that were pretty close to the epicenter. There were some I think there was just a really gigantic landslide that killed thousands of people during that earthquake in the Cordillera Blanca in Peru. And so topography in particular, if you have a mountainous landscape, if you have steep slopes, you get landslides. When the ground moves, you can dislodge portions of the earth materials and you get landslides. So a lot of earthquakes, including that one in particular, a lot of the loss of life was due to the secondary effects of landslides.
The earthquake destroyed the capital city, which enraged the descendants of the Incans because this city held the headquarters of Simon Bolivar, who liberated Peru after the Spanish destroyed the Incan Empire. This was such a devastating event for the Peruvians that in 2002 and years forward, the government declared May 31st as Natural Disaster Education and Reflection Day to commemorate the victims who suffered in this seismic disaster.
Peru is located in one of the highest areas of risk for more earthquakes, especially those living near the epicenter. 40 years later, the damage has still not been fully repaired, and 16 of Ancash's 20 provinces are still in the two lowest economic tiers, with some areas still in shambles. They have very little access to technology and other helpful resources.
I don't think, in some ways, for the worst case earthquake, you can't, it's almost impossible to be totally prepared. But you can prepare for something a little bit smaller that's not so catastrophic. And I don't think we're quite there yet. I think we're going in the right direction. So I'm an optimist. I'm positive that we're doing some good things.
Peru was in no shape prepared for this disastrous earthquake. Now, 47 years later, they are still struggling to regain all that was lost. Vancouver, located in the Pacific Ring of Fire, is subject to plenty of risk. If hit with a twin earthquake, are we strong enough to withstand it, or will we still be recovering decades later?